I remember when I visited Cuba and met Fidel Castro, we were having a conversation about gender. And he said, you know, I'm a communist, so the working class comes first. But let me tell you something, Beverly. The gender revolution is going to be the last one to take place. I was so upset. I said, how can you, the type of leader you are, how can you say that? He says it's going to be the most challenging one. I've never forgotten that. And what it meant to me was that those of us who are advocates for now gender affairs have to realize that it is not something you can take up and put down. It's, as we used to say, an ongoing struggle. And many women in Jamaica today who have never been a part of any movement sometimes just don't recognize the impact that the movement, not just the PNP women's movement, the movement generally, the movement internationally, regionally, the impact it has had on them and where they are positioned today. In the 1970s, women, we didn't even have women truck drivers, women construction workers. I mean, I could go on. And they weren't necessarily a member of any PNP women's movement or any women's movement, but it had an impact on them. So I am imploring you, if you are not yet involved, get involved. Think of what it means because others were involved. Think of the impact it has had and continues to have on you. Feel free to join the PNP women's movement. Feel free to join any movement that has at its core gender issues. Basically, how women relate to men, how men relate to women, and the miracles that occur when those relationships are extraordinary.
The policy that has impacted me as a woman in Jamaica the most is the maternity leave policy. Reason being that as a woman in management, it gave me the opportunity to go off on leave, be with my baby, to have that full 3 months, and to be able to come back comfortably into the workspace. And you know, some people might say like, maternity leave for you, really? Because you know, you're management. Management was always able to negotiate for themselves in Jamaica. But remember, someone like me, a woman, would never have been able to be in management in the 70s. So the other things that caused that to be able to happen in the 70s was the beginning of that awareness that there is equalness between the genders. You know, and that came out of a People's National Party's perspective of equality and social justice at the core of who we are. And having that occur, having that equalness occur, having the equalness in pay occur, although not fully sorted out yet, and we soon get to that, gave the possibility of women being in management. And now in Jamaica, we can proudly say that the majority of our middle managers are female, but we cannot proudly say that we have equal amounts of women and men in the boardroom, at the senior management level, and in our government. But we will one day, because we're going to keep working on it. That's who we are, the People's National Party Women's Movement.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Edwards, President of the PNP Women's Movement. Today, as we celebrate International Women's Day, I want to speak briefly about some of the policies and programs that the PNP has instituted. In particular, I want to talk about the issue of housing. Shelter, as we all know, is one of the most critical needs of human beings. Yet, for years, many Jamaicans, and in particular women, have been unable to access this very important requirement for life. As a result of this, many of our women have ended up in situations which has resulted in abuse, physical, financial, and even sexual abuse. We have had overcrowding. We have had situations where people have had to live without the common facility of water, and for women that is a very, very important need. In 1976, I was one of the first beneficiaries of a National Housing Trust housing benefit. At that young age, 26, I was able to build my own house and to move my 1-year-old son into his own room, and I was able to provide for the basic needs of my family. Many years later, numerous Jamaicans have been beneficiary of a National Housing Trust program, and today our women are also becoming proud homeowners. The PNP believes that the family is an important requirement of society, that it is critical for the human development, and so all of its policies and programs have been geared to ensure that Jamaicans have a better quality of life.
In 1976, the Michael Manley-led government passed the Status of Children Act in Jamaica. And what that did effectively was to change how we socially, legally, and economically conceived, pun intended, the rights of children in our country. It empowered persons who were born out of wedlock to access particular legal and economic rights that they otherwise were not entitled to. It changed social recognition. Conversations of dignity and respect were now being accorded to persons whose parents had them outside of marriage. For me, that is critical. And I kid you not, in 2019, there are people who still seek to rank hierarchically children based on their mode or conditions of conception. Thankfully, in law, children have their dignity protected. And without that 1976 law being passed, we would not be able to have this conversation where I can say to you proudly, my child has no less right to exist because we just happen to not be married.
I'm Beverly Manley Duncan, wishing you an empowering International Women's Day.
So as we climb the ladder, as we become more empowered and put ourselves in those spaces, I want to encourage us to go there with our true, authentic self, but bringing what all females bring, perspective that only a female can have.
It is our right and our responsibility to ensure that societies are restructured in a way that recognize the rights we have as women.
May God continue to bless us so that we strive and grow from strength to strength.